Hmm. I lost.
Jared, if you're speaking to us, you're on mute.
Sorry. You'd think after all this time. Welcome. My name is Jared. Thank you for coming virtually to the Tip Workers Coordinated Council meeting for December. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I will start with a roll call. Daniel King from DOES. He raised his hand. I think he was on mute, but you are present. Thank you. Larry Villegas Perez from Human Rights.
Present.
Thank you. Jen McCahill from the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture.
Present.
Thank you. Tracy from the Mayor's Office.
Present.
Thank you. Zach Hoffman from the Council.
Present.
Lisa Abrams from Hotel Association. Lisa is not here. Andrew from the Restaurant Association.
Yes, present. Good morning.
Good to see you all. That we still do have a quorum. Am I correct on that? Even without Lisa? Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Next agenda item is to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. I will now open up to public comments. I see a few names here on the call that I do not recognize. Please, if you are a member of the public, feel free to introduce yourself and give any question or comment that you have. Anybody? Nobody? Okay. If there are no public comments, then we can move to our next agenda item, which is an update on the status of the tip workers, or excuse me, the tip portal for reporting wages. Mr. King, can I pass that to you?
Sure. So the tip workers reporting portal is still active and available based on the original irritation of the law. The changes that were brought about by the previous amendments had not yet been implemented as of this date. There was a holdup with the UI tax portal that was being enhanced, and that's what we're still waiting for. However, now that we have the passing of Initiative 82, there are some changes to the tip wage law that needs to be considered in conjunction with this tip portal. So we're looking at a way to implement those changes as well. I believe there's a 30-day review period from Initiative 82 before it actually becomes law. So I'm expecting that to come through within the next few weeks. And we have already began preparing outreach and education for the public and to go on our website about those changes. The biggest is that starting January 1, the sub minimum rate will be $6 instead of $5.35. And then tips will have to bring up those workers to the minimum wage. And then it's scheduled to increase again July 1st of every year for I think the next 5 years until that tip minimum wage and that tip credit is no longer necessary. So that's our focus at this time from DOES. We want to make sure that any changes that are done to the tip portal are also in line with the changes in the law with Initiative 82.
So may I clarify some of that? And Daniel, this may help you because you actually have more time than that. So where we are at this point, as I understand it, the election was just certified, I think, yesterday. What happens then is the Board of Elections will transmit the initiative to the chair of the council. He is then to transmit it to Congress forthwith for the 30-day congressional review period. However, that 30-day congressional review period only counts days that Congress is in session. The best estimate, and I got this from the chair, is that the law will take effect sometime in March. Now, that means a couple things. One is that's when it will take effect. And when it takes effect is when that first increase will take effect, not January 1st, because those of you who have studied law or even had high school civics know that we cannot have what are called ex post facto laws, which is a fancy Latin term for the fact that you can't legislate things after the fact, can't make things illegal after the fact. So it'll go into effect in March, and at that point, that first increase will kick in with the second increase in July. So I don't know whether that, Daniel, affects the thinking of the agency in terms of timing, but I wanted to put that out there because I think that that's the accurate information as to where we are and when it will take effect.
Thank you for that clarification, Andrew. And that actually is good information to have. But I think our plan remains the same. We need to make sure that any changes that are done in the portal comply with any changes that are going to be happening in the law. So there is a holdup while we do the UI tax portion. That's actually working to our benefit at this time because we want to make sure that we include any of those changes from Initiative 82.
We still have this issue that's been kicking around for 6 or 8 months with regard to the payroll providers indicating that as contemplated, that this is going to be difficult for them and they may not continue in the market. There is a resolution, a motion that's been pending because I made it and it was seconded, and I voluntarily agreed to have it tabled, but it was tabled to the next meeting. It's never been acted on. So that's still live. It's still out there. We haven't done anything with it.
Well, I think, Andrew, the issue that we're coming across with tabling, or the reason that your motion is continuing to be tabled is to for the payroll providers to have not access. That's not the word. The director used a phrase, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but essentially allowing them access to the tip portal before it is actually live to understand how they are required to work within it. So I guess that's what we're waiting to hear from either DOES and or wage hour to try to figure out what if the issues that the payroll companies presented are in fact part of the way the tip portal is supposed to work. Am I right about that? I think so.
I mean, we've always disputed that. I mean, our position is why spend all this money, which has already been spent, without getting the appropriate input from those that are going to be implemented, those that are going to be implementing, and those that are going to be affected by the portal. I mean, I know how this works, and it's too late now. We've already spent the money. This is the way we're doing it. And these issues have been raised. They've been raised repeatedly. They've been raised with the council member's office, who has oversight. And then we get stories like we had in the middle of I-82. Well, no one's complying. And we being the restaurant industry, had to deal with all that. And the fact of the matter is there's nothing to comply with because there's no portal yet. Now we're going to continue down the road with a portal without getting input from the stakeholders. I mean, it just seems bad government to me. And that's why I made the motion, which was tabled to a date certain, which was the meeting after it was made, but it wasn't considered at that meeting for whatever reason.
I have to interject and correct that there is a portal. It's the same portal that we've been receiving documentation on since 2017. And we're still receiving that way. And we're still receiving tip reports manually from those who have, let us know that they had a hardship with the portal. So that process is still going. It's just that the changes that the law that's currently written is requiring for the portal has not been implemented. But we are absolutely still receiving reports from employers. And when they stop reporting because they have changed their processes, they have information that they send to us as we do audits as well.
Okay. Further questions, comments on the tip portal? All right. I don't believe it ended up on the agenda. I'm just taking one last look here. But Larry, do you have anything to add since our last meeting about the sexual harassment training?
Actually, I do. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So, we collected our frequently asked questions and actually created a document with the potential answers according to our expertise and the feedback that we received from the community and from the deep wage industry in general. We reviewed it for compliance with the law. Was it sufficient? We have here in the meeting also Lorianne Della from the Office of the General Counsel here at OHR, who was very instrumental on the review. The document has not been posted on our website yet because we're just finalizing a few details. I can tell you that we have reviewed and within the law extended some of the deadlines. For example, the deadline to complete sexual harassment prevention training moved to summer 2023, as well as the documentation for sexual harassment policy and completing the statements of where that policy is published in the business also moved to March 31st, 2023. So the biggest preoccupation was that some of the deadlines were December 31st. And because not everybody had knowledge about either the law, because they were doing themselves their own human resources, there was a preoccupation of being out of compliance. So that's the biggest update that I have right now.
First question, when you say summer of 23, is there an exact date yet or?
Yes, it is, hold on a second, 31st, 2023.
Great. And second question well, first let me open up to others who may have questions or comments about what Larry just briefed us on.
Do. We're getting, the Restaurant Association is getting a lot of feedback from operators who are very much concerned about the cost. And one of the things that they've inquired about, I know they've inquired of the agency about, is having the ability to certify their own trainers. Some of our larger restaurant groups are, it's going to cost us $90 a head to train. It's many thousands of dollars. And their position is they could do it more efficiently and inexpensively if they could have their own trainer certified. That is something that's done with alcohol awareness training, where if you have someone certified by one of the recognized alcohol awareness training programs, like TIPS or TAMS, or there's a whole bunch of them out there, then a restaurant group can do that, and then they can have a person who's a designated trainer who conducts all the training, and it saves them a few bucks. And in terms of the complaints about cost, we've told them it's the law. There's nothing we can do about that unless the law is changed. But we do think that the ability to have your own people certified is something that we should discuss in person. I raise that now because it seems to me that it's important to do the training and who does it. I mean, I'll tell you, in the alcohol awareness field, there are rent trainers, and I'm not going to say they're better. In fact, I know of one where, they basically sell certificates. It's not right, but that's what happens. It's wrong. And, we don't recommend that. My law firm does not recommend that our clients use this particular outfit. But I mean, I think the point is the notion that somehow the establishment is not going to do it as well as the third party. I don't think there's any evidence of that. If that is the thinking, I'm not saying it is, but if it is, I don't think that's true. I think people are serious about what they do, and if they're going to pay to have somebody certified, then they're going to do the training as the program was developed by the office, and request that OHR take that under consideration and implement it as quickly as possible.
So Andrew, to that point, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, yes, you're absolutely right. We're actually incrementing our outreach efforts, not only to have individuals from the actual restaurants to become certified, but also looking for people who speak other languages, because it's mandated by the law that we have to provide the information in the language that is best received by the audience that we're targeting. So soon as we review the feedback that we have received, which has mostly been done already, we have already 30 individuals or entities certified as trainers. But every time we make a call for others to join, we make a point on asking restaurants or bars or anyone who takes advantage of the credit to actually be involved and participate. And if you have other names or other entities, please send them to us, because we want this to be community engagement of creating safer spaces for everybody. So
you bleeped out a bit, but I think what I heard you say is if I have organizations that want to do that, I should have them contact you.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the way we do it is we send a document out for people to apply to become a certified trainer. Then they come to us, we look at their background, etc. We actually provide them with the opportunity to learn more about the 21 or 23 protected categories, as well as becoming actually human rights liaisons if they so desire, to increase their knowledge about human rights, laws, etc. So
Great, thank you.
mhm.
Any other questions for Larry? My one follow-up question is that at our last meeting, we voted to write a recommendation that would push back the date of enforcement for the sexual harassment training. I want to ask, is that, do we, I don't know the official language, can we rescind that motion, or is that something we still want to write? Asking the group.
So I believe that because there was a way within the law to actually extend the deadlines and enforcement, and it wasn't necessary to go beyond the Office of Human Rights to do that. And I hope I'm answering your question. I don't know if we have to rescind the previous motion from our meeting.
Well, no, I'm saying for us as a council, we agreed to write a recommendation either to, I suppose, the DC City Council.
So then what we can do is
to push the date
move
now that the date is.
that motion, yeah.
Is that Andrew, was your proposal? Is it okay to rescind that proposed motion?
The motion that's pending?
Yes, to the one that referred to write a recommend. So it wasn't pending. We voted on it and we agreed to write a recommendation. I'm asking, now that the date has been pushed back, do we still want to write that recommendation, or do you want to consider it null and void?
I mean, I think we still want to write a recommendation. I mean, I think the recommendation related to involving the payroll providers so that they could provide input and their concerns could be dealt with prior to the portal being finalized. Is that what we're talking about?
No. So we have two issues pending.
Yeah.
That one that you just spoke about.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, somebody chime in. Maybe I'm crazy and I don't remember what happened. But I believe we talked about write a recommendation to push the date of enforcement back for the sexual harassment training from March to some later date. Larry's telling us that it has been pushed back. Do we still want to write said recommendation? Or can we consider this amenable to what that recommendation would have been asking for?
No, I agree. I think that it's been resolved, it's been pushed back, and that's what we desired, so it's happened. So I agree with you. I don't think there's anything more for us to do on that point at this time. I mean, it may be something depending upon
Sure, we can bring
progress and the rollout that we want to revisit again sometime after the first of the year. But no, I agree with you. I don't think there's any need for us to write a recommendation at this point.
Okay, fantastic. Again, I don't know what the official language is, but somebody erase it from the chalkboard or something. All right, that is all I have for official agenda items. Again, I'd like to open it up to public comments or questions if there are any. Seems like there aren't any. Andrew, I'm trying to think of what could be the next course with regard to this issue with the payroll providers.
I mean, I think that the concerns that they have been raised need to be entertained, and as the portal continues to be developed, that input should be taken from them about the issues that they have. mean, I know one of the issues is certification, in that the way the law was written, it actually asked them to certify that the establishment is in compliance with wage hour law, and their position is, we can't do that. We can only,
That's not the certification that's requested. The certification that's requested is that the information that they put into the portal came from the information that they use to do that company's payroll.
right.
That's what the
Yeah,
certification says.
Yeah, I think that part of it, I was gonna get there, that was one of the concerns that they had, that part's been addressed, but that there are other concerns, which, I'm not the best person to articulate them because they're not my constituency. And that's why I had David Julian here and the president of the Payroll Provider Association for a couple meetings, because they're in a much better position to articulate what their concerns are than I am. I mean, our only concern, my concern on behalf of the restaurants, is that we have payroll provider partners who are in a position to comply with the law, so that we're in compliance with the law.
Can I ask, when we had the meeting that Director Unique attended, she assured all of us that they would be included. Again, I wish I could remember the phrase, but she said that there's a step in the process that would go toward including stakeholders in the development of the portal. Do you know if they've been contacted, reached out to, or if any of the larger payroll companies under their purview have been contacted to participate in some sort of testing or anything?
Well, I know that the director also mentioned that NPR actually participates in monthly meetings with our UI tax department about the efforts to enhance that portal. So there's been ongoing conversation about the enhancements that's happening. The part that we have not received feedback on is whether or not the payroll companies have come up with a version of what that report looks like that complies with the current law. That was the kind of challenge that Director Morris Hughes put on them during that last meeting. But now we're also waiting to see what changes are going to happen through Initiative 82. So it's kind of in a holding pattern right now where I think there should continue to be conversations about what's actually needed.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that, hey, look, the elephant in the room is, given that there are no longer going to be tipped workers as we know them, given the passage of I-82, is this even going to be necessary, or are we even going to be necessary at that point? Remember, this was all created, conceived on the continuation of the tipped minimum wage and the tip credit, which is now going away. So, I just put that out there because I think it's the elephant in the room, that it's like, yeah, I think Daniel's correct. It's kind of like, well, gee, what does all this mean now? I think ultimately what it means is, yeah, there aren't tipped workers, as this statute under which our body was created and the payroll reporting requirements were created, to justify the continued existence of those at that point, because all of the ills that were perceived and argued supposedly aren't going to be there because we're not going to have tipped workers anymore, as that term has previously been used.
Yes, but if I understand your position, and from when the other gentlemen were on with us, they, as long as it's the law, they feel like they want to be included in the development of this tip portal, right? It's written in that they have to comply with the law, so they want to be involved in the development. And I'm just asking if they haven't been reached out to as of yet, and or if they've reached out and haven't been responded to, we did get assurance that that would happen. So as this council's concerned, I'd like to, make sure that that does happen for them. If maybe in the meantime, before next meeting, we can get an update from them, if they've seen or heard anything. If they have a stack of emails that haven't been responded to, obviously I'd like to know that too. And then go from there.
I'll take on reaching out to them to make sure that we get input from them. In fact, I just texted David Julian to ask him if they've heard anything. He's of course their representative.
Yes.
And I'll make sure that we get input from them. Appreciate that.
And then the other question I was going to ask you, forgive me, I do not remember her name, but we had a young lady come on and voice some concerns about her previous employer and their, wage garnishment issues and all that stuff. Did she reach out to you, Andrew?
He did, and I referred her to council, and that's the last I heard of it.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So if there are no other comments or questions, I would like to propose or to motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for the second, Larry. Thank you all for joining again this December. If we don't hear from you, have a great holiday season, and we will plan to come back in the new year.
Have a
Great.
good holiday,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Yeah.
Everyone have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.